Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we have this Nintendo DS that's in pretty bad shape. As you can see, the hinge here is broken and there are cracks on the top of the shell there. Another issue is it not taking a charge. As you can see, there isn't an orange light down there, so let's start this off with replacing the battery and see what that does. Here is the new battery, and in comparison, here is the old one. As you can see, this one is written in English instead of Japanese, but we'll go ahead and try to put this in and give it another shot. Now with the charger plugged in, we get that orange light. Nice. Alright, so after letting it charge for a bit, it actually turns on. Broken hinge and all, it still manages to boot up and both screens work. There's definitely some weirdness going on in the corner down there on the top screen, but I'm surprised it's even gotten this far. Testing some things out, we have touchscreen and all the buttons seem to be functioning normally. Next up, we'll try to see if it'll load up a game. Here I have my copy of Pokemon Soul Silver, my favorite Pokemon game by the way. But let's see what happens. We just get sent to the home screen and no disc is being read there. Also, I just noticed there's no audio. Messing with the slider here doesn't do anything, so the speakers will need some work too. Well, I have a lot of work ahead of me, so let's just jump right into it. I mean, it is pretty similar. I'll have to take that off since the replacement sticker isn't as good. A new screen protector, bottom shell, setting this in like so. Yeah, this will do nicely. And then additional pieces there, and buttons here alongside screws, and mostly what you'll need for the outer parts of a DS. And finally the bottom. Flipping this so we can get a side-by-side. Yeah, looks pretty good. You can see the pegs here aren't exactly one-to-one and even some missing, but it is what it is. We will go ahead and set these aside for now. So going back to the disassembly, we will go ahead and take out the battery and set that aside. I've already got the screws taken out myself, so we can just lift this back cover up, and now the board itself is exposed.
A few moments later.
As you can see there, it's definitely stripped.
Yeah! Yeah! Some of these, and some of these. Almost there, and done.
I got the screw out, but unfortunately, as you can see there, get all of these out in a shell. It's kind of interesting how easy it is and flimsy. Now, okay, so this is everything we had left over. I do have to get this little guy out right here. So let's go ahead and, this is on the left side. So we'll go ahead and try to slowly push this out. Don't want to be too hard with it. It's a tough balancing act to go back and forth, but I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a screwdriver to get a better grip. But once again, just be careful. And we got another crack in the shell there, though at this point, it's a little late to worry about that. This part here is just hanging on by a thread now, so let's see if I can just remove it. Huh. Well, that was easier than I expected. Got that part out now. I'll try doing it the other way since this way is giving me a bit of trouble. Yeah, much better. We don't need this bottom piece anymore. May keep this. Same goes for the back, but we'll set that aside for now. That goes here. Might have to take this foam piece. We'll come back to that. So we have this hinge. We have another hinge still inside a broken piece, which I'll go ahead and just push this out now. Simple and clean there. This longer one is for the left and the other goes on the right. I assume they're meant to be different sizes? Okay, yeah, this one is meant to be slightly smaller, so we're good there. Onto the building of the new shell, we have the front piece. Setting the top piece in place would go like this. Easier to go with the shorter one first. This sits on the right side looking at it. It lines up alongside the holes here. You just have to align it with the divots on the inside. It'll definitely take a bit of maneuvering. Just take your time and don't try to force it, but once you've got it set correctly, it'll just slide in smooth like butter. But then same thing with this one over here. This one is a bit more interesting as it has this back piece guarding it, so you can't get the same angle on it as the previous one. But just like that, it's in now. Now you can see how the left one is properly in place, with it not sticking out on the left side there. This one could go back a bit so it's not so exposed on the right. With that done, we want to get this set in its final position. Just place it on the front shell. And now you have to kind of balance it a bit to keep the holes aligned to connect the two pieces. With applying a good amount of pressure, but Also trying to not move the shell, it's a tough act as well. And there we go. The left one took quite a bit more force, but I think that's as good as we'll get it. So these were almost popped back in there. The previous speakers, which weren't giving any audio, so we have some replacements. These are Funny Playing's Game Boy Advance speakers. As funny to note, the original DS shares the same speakers as the Game Boy Advance does. They come very nicely packaged, and getting a look side by side, they're definitely a bit different, mainly with the clear plastic here instead of the black on the original, which I like a lot. But other than that, they function the same. So just make sure the gold pins are facing up, and they just lay in there like that. Same thing with the other one. This one has a bit of packaging left on it, but that's fine. Extra protection. Once again, just have to say how well made they are. Props to Funny Playing. Now with those in, we'll move on to the screen. The previous one, while okay, had some weird artifacts going on the bottom right hand side, so I have a replacement, courtesy of Handheld Legends. But onto the back here, we're gonna have to take the upper ribbon cable off the old one to place it on the new screen. So we'll lay it down here and peel it off from the bit of sticky residue holding it together. Now, I don't have any double-sided tape or anything currently available, so I'll just use some thermal tape to keep it down like this. Not the best, but it'll do. You just lay the screen down like this. Make sure to set this divider in for the screen cable to sit in so it doesn't get pinched by the shell. So now we have the speaker boards and screen connectors. Ignore the boards already being set in. I mistakenly put them in without putting the cables in like a goofball, making it much harder for myself. But you can take some tweezers or fit your nail behind this black tab here and just lift it up. So now with it open, you can grab the corresponding cable, and while it's a little tricky to get it in, once you do get it seated all the way, you just flip down the tab and lock it in place. We'll do this tiny one next. Let me go ahead and reset it to show you. For this one, there's a black tab that you pull down. Just be careful to go one corner at a time, slowly pulling it out until it's fully even. Now the ribbon just slides in above right there. It's a bit hard to know when it's fully in, but most of the gold plating should be inside. To close it, I'm going to grab some fine Talon tweezers and get underneath it so I can push the bottom parts equally against the tabs to push them both at the same time. And the last cable on the screen is the same as the first cable, so just follow the same steps as before. Once those cables are in, you flip the board so they are facing downward. There are 2 pegs on the top right and bottom left that align with holes on the board. Keep a bit of pressure on it so it doesn't pop back up so you can get the screw in place. But moving on, we have the more tedious part. We have the other half of this green ribbon cable. You see how the left side here has a bit of an angle to it, so you have to slide it through the slot with that side angled first. It'll allow you to get the head through with enough maneuvering. There we go. Unfortunately, that's just the first half, as now there's this bent section you also have to push through. So you gotta pinch it together to make it skinny enough to get it through too. Sorry if this is not the best viewing experience, but once I get more accustomed to this, I'm sure I'll be able to show it much better. But with the tweezers giving an extra push, we got it through. So just keep pulling more through until you're left with these 2 curls here. Now we can grab the ribbon and slide it through the tangle. You can do this earlier, but I did it this way. Sue me. So now we can grab it with a bit of tweezers or your fingers if you're confident enough. You just find the hole it fits through and kind of shove it through similarly like the others. Got a bit of a loop here, but that's nothing to worry about. Alright, there we go. Now, before we can move on, the wire has a bit of an indent that you can push it in to stop it from moving. But now the lid will go on. This did not come with the foam piece as I thought, or at least I didn't see it, so we'll go ahead and seal it off the broken one. If you can get your finger underneath it, great, but I'm also going to use the Talon to grab at it and gently pull it enough to get a good enough grasp with the old fingies. And now we're gifted with that satisfying peel. Nice. So now same thing, but reverse. You just gotta line it up to the best of your abilities and press it in. Mine came out a tad bit crooked, but not too shabby. Now we get to sandwich the 2 together. Just lay it on top in position, and here comes the fun and slightly scary part as you get those clips snapping together. Though these 2 by the hinge don't seem to want to cooperate. I'm not the hugest fan with that, but I guess it's good enough. Going to the included supplies, we need this piece here which covers the ribbon and wire as it's broken on the previous one. The end goes on the left here, you just have to make sure it goes in straight, but once it does it just clicks in like so. Now back to the bottom side, Under the cable we have this hole here where we screw it into place. Now I will order a new digitizer, but this one does work, so we'll just use it for now. For replacing it though, it is just adhered on, so you just pop it off and put the new one in its place. To give a bit of added protection, I'm going to add some bubble wrap just to keep the screen safe from me putting too much pressure on it, but here we can put the screen in with the ribbon cables towards the bottom right. Get that ribbon spaghetti out of the way so you can peel back the foam on the screen. Just keep going as much as needed for the cables to fit nice and snug under the covers. There's also a section walled in for the bend of the ribbon to rest in. Now with it tucked under the foam, we can set the wire better into position around this screw peg here. You can just push it in a bit. Be careful of course, but just slide it in to help it stay more in position. Then there's another divot for the wire to meet its final resting place like so. Now we can go ahead and put the buttons in. Going back to the included items with the shell, there are replacement buttons, but the previous ones look good enough to me, so I'll just use those. Got the power button in, now the start, which has a little notch at the bottom signifying which place it goes into out of the two. Same thing with the select button here, which is vice versa. The A, B, X, Y buttons follow the same pattern, having a notch indicating the correct orientation, so just make sure to check that they look right. B goes on the bottom, X goes on the top, A goes to the left, and Y goes on the right from this position. And then we can go ahead and grab the D-pad. You can see this is a bit out of order because I made a mistake here as well. I noticed that there's a notch in the bottom right corner which indicates how it aligns with the shell, but here we have the rubber pad that holds it in place. You just line it up and push it in and it sits nicely. As I was not aware of the orientation, I'll show you what happens when you put it in incorrectly here as I flip it up. You can see the right side is sticking out way more than the other, with the left side barely being able to be pushed in. Good thing I checked when I did. So now I'll do it correctly. This side here that doesn't have the extra plastic on the corner here rests against this protrusion on the shell to sit right. So once again, you just push fit it in place and align the rubber pad with 2 pegs on the shell. One on the top right and the other on the bottom left. Give it a few good presses to make sure it is firmly around them and you're good. Taking a look here, that's what you want to see. Now we can move on to the rubber pad for the other side. Same thing as before, just lay it on top and set it in. I made one more mistake here. As you can see, I already have the board in, but before you do that, you want to take the clear plastic piece for the power and charge light and put it in the hole down here. Okay, back to the correct order, we have the motherboard. We have the screen cables here that you have to feed through this hole in the board through. If you're lucky, you can just try to line the board up like so and lean the cables through without much hassle. I was even surprised myself that I got all 3 on the first try, but if not, just feed the extra ones through that didn't make it. Now, you also want to grab the ribbon and cable from the top screen and get those over the board as well. Let me get a bit better angle to get these out. There we go. Now the real hassle is getting the bend in the ribbon to stay in this hole. Since it just wants to fly out so much, but with enough fight and patience, it'll stay long enough to set the board down, trapping it in. Now we can put the screws in. The strip screw that fought me earlier is going to need to be replaced. They do provide screws with the shell, though they are usually lesser quality and are all standard Phillips instead of some being tri-wing. Don't forget to put the screw in above the cart slot, I almost forgot about it myself. Getting a close up here, we have these 2 smaller ribbons that will do before the bigger one. It's the same pull out style from the top screen, just pull out the gate one side at a time, back and forth. Once those are all the way out, just grab the ribbon by the horns and wiggle that puppy in. Don't forget its next door neighbor as well, and give them a good extra push just to make sure they're fully in. Pushing the locking tabs down, this is what it looks like when they're fully seated. I'll just quickly do the bigger cable since I've done it twice now already. We'll spin this around and do the wire connector next. It doesn't have any specific orientation, just make sure the circle is around the hole and it'll just snap on. Same thing as before with the cable, and we're done with all the wiring. Onto the final bits here, we have the trigger buttons. Grab one of the springs and the L or R button. Because we're holding it backwards, the left will go on the right side and vice versa. The spring itself goes around this back peg on the trigger. You want to get it in this nook back here. It's a little hard when starting out to get the spring correct, but once it's down, you can just angle the peg into its slot to set it in. We do the same with the L button, spring on that. I'll try to show it off a bit better from this side. So we get the spring in that nook, grab the front part while keeping the spring in position, just lower it down and set it in like that. As I was figuring out what to do with the back shell, I was hyper focused on completely switching everything over. So I had the hot air station ready to get the sticker off, but then it hit me. Just use the old one, you goof. So I did another check on it and it didn't really have any damage outside of some general wear, so I decided the change wasn't really necessary. So I'll just give it a bit of a clean, and yeah, that looks good. So going back to this, just go ahead and place it on top. Might have to shimmy it around a bit, but once it's flush like this, you know you got it right. So now I'll just go ahead and screw the rest of these screws in. Gonna have to go back to a tri-wing bit, as those are the external screws. With all those in, all that's left is the battery and its corresponding cover. We still have the screen protector here, but let's see if this thing is still functional. Oh. Let me try to plug the charger in and see if it gets a light. No. Well, back to the drawing board. Okay, I fixed it. So, luckily it wasn't any components messed up, but as I was checking things, I noticed the battery connectors here were pretty jammed down, so they weren't making a good connection. After pushing them back up carefully, let's see if that does the trick. Of course, I don't have the back on since I just want to check to see if this is the issue, but yes! We got power, we got audio, we got visual, let's go! So for the final time, I have to take this back apart and re-put it fully back together. So I'll see you in a frame. With it all back together, we'll take the protective sticker off and lay it in place. Sadly, there's a bit of a mark on the top left there, but that's fine for now. We just need to get these top screws in to finish it off. But now that it's back all together, we can just test it to make sure it's all in order. As we see, it does power on, and I tried putting the screw covers on, but they weren't having it. It's still in Japanese though, so to change that, you go down to the bottom here, click the wrench, and then the globe, which will give you the option to switch to English. Going out of this will restart the console, but that's all good. Let's go ahead and try out that Soul Silver from before, and it boots straight to the game. I am still having issues with it appearing from the main menu, so if I take the game out and start it without the game in, and insert it after it's turned on, it says no DS card. So if you have any advice on that, let me know. I did a bit of searching, but didn't end up finding anything concrete, and just wanted to quickly get this video out here. But that works, so we can try out the Game Boy side of things. I have this Spyro game here, and starting it up, it works too. Though it follows a similar route of starting up immediately, but not after being inserted while on, saying nothing's inserted. Other than that though, I take it as a win. Where I do not take a win though is on the touchscreen with an issue that I caused myself. I broke the tab on the connector for the digitizer, so now it doesn't lock in. As this video is getting long and I need a bit more practice before trying that out, I'm just going to call it good enough. This is technically broken, fixed, and then broken again by me, but hey, you can't win them all. And that's just part of the learning experience. Other than that though, this was a lot of fun, so I look forward to doing more DS's down the line, but thanks for watching. This is DieFixer, shutting down.